So hello, everybody. If you were to look at the name of mine amongst the names of the participants, you will probably see that I'm here to represent two projects. One of which is the fact-checking project, and another one is the one that I'm going to present today, and it's called Debunk.eu. And it's an AI-based technical tool which helps fact-checkers basically save time in looking for disinformation cases on the internet. So, does it work? Down. Yeah. So what first comes into your mind when you think about a virus? It is probably one of these. It's a biological virus, something that went viral on the internet, or it may be a computer virus. But let me change your perception a little bit and tell you about an example that happened in Lithuania. So bribery, praising annexation of Crimea, sexual harassment. These were all of the cases of which our Minister of Defense was accused. And those were the cases of disinformation. Fortunately enough, those were all debunked. But it's nothing less than an infection that is being deliberately spread to change our minds and to change the way we think. And the word for it is disinformation. So in order to better understand what it actually is, a lot of people confuse it with propaganda. But propaganda can be either good or bad. So disinformation is something related to black propaganda, and it's like a subproduct of it. In order to better understand of what it is and how it works, we have to know where it all begins. And so it usually is being deliberately spread from troll factories, most of which are located in Russia, and the most infamous one being the IRA, the Internet Research Agency, which is located in St. Petersburg. So their working methods are rather simple but super smart, I would say. So let's say they create a website which is full of the topics that are relevant to all of us on a day-to-day basis. So it's travel, it's entertainment, it's pets, it's food, whatever you name it. And then they noticeably incorporate some of the cases of disinformation within that content, which is mostly true. Another method that they use is through activity on social media or on comments under articles. So the trolls are usually super active. They argue with the real people, and consequently, there's no possibility of a real dialogue. So the outcome of that is polarized society. People don't know what to believe, whom to believe anymore, and they are just tired of endless arguments and not knowing whom to trust. So speaking of disinformation cases and the number of them that are originating in Kremlin-supported sources, there were more than 5,000 cases debunked by European External Action Service, and over 100 of them were related to my country, to Lithuania. So, and those were only the cases which were debunked. So you can only imagine what is the scale of disinformation campaigns that are not even, and some of which are not even being debunked. So what we do, we are actually constantly looking for disinformation online in articles. So we, on a daily basis, we monitor approximately 1,000 domains, a little bit over than 1,000 domains, which historically had some instances of disinformation. From those domains, we scrape approximately 20,000 articles a day. And our AI-based tool instantly flags the articles which may potentially have some disinformation cases within. So the idea behind it is to save time for the journalists, for the fact checkers who would usually do that manually. So, and what's being said on the left-hand side, that's actually a quotation of a Lithuanian journalist who said that through the use of our platform, he was able to save 3 to 4 hours a day. And these are the numbers of the outcome that was delivered with the help of our platform. So Delfi is the largest online news publisher in the Baltic states. And over 2018, it published over 100 articles which debunked disinformation cases. And they were read more than 6.5 million times. And bearing in mind that Lithuanian population is less than 3 million, so it means that the number of people who were reading that was the twice of a number of my country's population. So this is actually how our platform works. So once you log into the platform, you can see right next to the article, which is flagged, you can see the Infometer score. So the Infometer score is actually comprised of 3 most important parts. First of which is the importance score, automatically assigned by the AI engine. So it is actually looking for some specific narratives within the article that may be relevant to disinformation or that are usually associated with disinformation. But since the AI tool is not able to understand the context, we need the human factor here. So we have volunteers in Lithuania who log into the platform and double check what the system flagged. So once it's done, the dark red part of the Infometer score is being assigned to the article. However, it's not the only important factor that has to be taken into consideration. Another one is how widely the article may be spread and read. So this is the second part, and the third part is how widely or how actively the article was shared on social media. So all those 3 factors combined, we get a relevancy score, again, or Infometer score, which you see next to the article. And then you, as a fact checker or a journalist, can decide whether it's worth paying attention to or not. So this is how it actually works in Lithuania. So the system first detects the articles, then the elves, the volunteers, add the human factor on top, and then the journalists receive the tailored content, the articles that they should probably pay attention to, and then they decide which topics they would like to dig deeper, they would like to investigate and later on debunk. So for example, Delfi has a reach of approximately 90% of Lithuanian population, so that's why the numbers were that high, speaking of the articles which were debunked. So in order to understand what's going to happen next, and why it is important to keep working on that and to keep developing these kind of tools further, we have to understand what's on the table on the other side. So Putin just announced that he would support and he would actually want to unite the forces of academia, business, and government to develop a new powerful AI mechanism. And he said that the government was willing to allocate 1.4 billion United States dollars to that. So it's up to the imagination what can be done and what a powerful engine can be built with that. So is there a vaccine to that? Unfortunately, no. Our tool is not a vaccine to that, but some prevention and countermeasures can be taken. And in terms of that, we strongly believe that media literacy is something that has to be constantly developed, speaking of the young, which have not formed their own opinion yet, and speaking of the old, which are vulnerable. Then the next thing, and I cannot emphasize this enough, how collaboration, and this is why we are all here today, I guess, how it is important. So we're all specializing in different areas of expertise, and we can actually work together to counter these efforts, which are being financed by some governments. So, and of course, last but not least, debunking still matters. So media literacy is, of course, something that should be there as a fact, but we have to work on informing people what's happening on the other side. So I want to invite you to come up to me and say hi if you want to learn more about what we do, about our tool. And once again, I invite you to collaborate. So thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Do we have any questions before we leave her from the stage? Maybe we can only have one question time, but okay, probably gonna ask her in the coffee break. Okay, so thanks so much, Ieva.
Thank you.
Yes, now we have Derek with us.
Is this working? Hello, everyone. I'll grab it. So I'm Derek Thompson of the France 24 Observers. For those of you who don't know us, we are not pure fact checkers. We are a collaborative journalism project. We've worked with 5,000 amateur contributors around the world over the last 12 years. And we got into fact checking because our 5,000 amateur contributors send us hold on a second. They send us images. They send us lots of photos and videos. So part of checking their contributions is, of course, verifying the truth of the images, the photos and videos that they send us. They also help us crowdsource fact-checking. They act like Malditos and Malditas a little bit for Clara's site. They do help us with that. I spoke about that last year. And this year I'm going to be talking about a new project that we have, a new little mini show that is a media literacy project. Media literacy is very, very important. So we came up with a format that is a 3-minute video format. We're part of a TV company, so we focus on video for a lot of our output. We call it info or intox, info ou intox. That means information or disinformation. No, information or misinformation, excuse me. And it's a little 3-minute video format I'll show you in a second. It's designed for middle school students and high school students, for anyone from the age of 12 and up. It's also designed for a general audience aged up to 99, not for 100-year-olds. And now it's designed, in each one, it's designed to do 2 things at once. Each episode is supposed to be a fact check of a specific piece of fake news or a fake image. But we also explain how we fact checked it, how we learned that it was fake. And we try to share that. We try to make it a lesson for people. The idea is that we'll never get all of the fake items that are out there. We'll never be able to catch them all. There are just too many of them. So we try to make sure that every time we catch one, we give people a lesson that will make them more vigilant in future. So let me give you an example. And let me see. Hold on. Here we go. Can we make this go? There we go.
A lot of fake news consists of images that have been taken out of context. It's the caption that's fake, not the photo or the video itself.
Recently arrived migrants attack, destroy and rob shops in Spain.
This video has been circulating in Spain and in France too. The caption reads, "Recently arrived migrants attack, destroy and rob shops in Spain."
So how can you check whether it's true? You need to do some detective work. First off, look at who posted the item. In this case, an account apparently dedicated to spreading negative information about migrants. So be careful, they have an agenda. Next, look at the video for clues. Here you can see a date, November 19th, 2015. Not recent. So you take the date, you put it into Google along with the keyword looting, and you see what you get. Students loot Chouanet University Cafe.
So this didn't happen in Europe at all. It was in South Africa. Students who looted a cafe during demonstrations over an increase in tuition fees. So when you see a video targeting a certain group, migrants in this case, ask yourself, did it really happen that way? Find the first appearance of the video online. That will usually give you an idea of the original context.
So there you go, a little bit of local context for you. So I hope you weren't there. So you saw there, so that was my colleague Claire Pakalin. We produce this show in English and in Arabic and Spanish once a year, but the main show is in French. It's my colleague Alexandre Capron who hosts it. You'll see that in a second. Claire had two tips for our audience there. One is be careful of pages or groups that have an agenda, and the other is if you're trying to verify an image, find the original context, and that will almost always be we'll find the first instance of it online. That will generally be the original context. The tool we share there is Google Search. I know that a lot of people know Google Search. The real import here is that they should use their own common sense. We do use other tools. We try to feature those. Here's another example. This was supposedly veiled women in France getting government payouts. In fact, they were in the UK. If you expand the picture a little bit, if you look for the original instance in Google, using Google reverse image search, you'll see that there was a London bus sign. In fact, they were in the UK waiting for a bus. We try to show the tools as much as possible so people can actually get it into their heads and actually start using them themselves. Here's another example, supposedly an Israeli police officer arresting violently a young Palestinian. In fact, it was in Sweden, and it was a young Moroccan who was being arrested. And here we were showing, we discovered this by using the InVid fake video news debunker that was developed by the AFP and Deutsche Welle and a university in Greece. So these are little 3-minute videos. They're very short, but we try to show them as much as possible. They're multi-broadcast on France 24, on our TV network. They're on social media, of course, and we also make teasers. It's only 3 minutes long, but we actually dare to make a teaser that is 30 seconds long. The reason is we want to be everywhere. It's sort of a branding issue. We're not selling potatoes or sausages, but we're selling a message that there is fake information out there. People should be vigilant about it, and they should have the reflex to think before they share. So we have teasers that air on TV as well. We've made 34 episodes this year, or 32, but we'll have made 34 soon. We hope they'll have a long life on YouTube. It's a very labor-intensive process doing this kind of television with a lot of graphics in it. We hope it'll have a long life on YouTube. And now to get onto the media literacy, we actually go out into schools every year during Media in Schools Week in France. And those are organized with the French Education Ministry. They have a special arm that is working on media literacy. It's really fun going into schools. The students really
Qui est sur Snapchat? Qui est sur Instagram? Levez la main si vous avez déjà fait une recherche d'image inversée.
Now it's time to practice.
Enregistrer l'image sous.
Not a simple task, the students are struggling.
Tout le monde y arrive, ça va?
Now they're getting the hang of it.
These are yellow vests at Clermont-Ferrand, but in fact it's an image of the semi-finals of a rugby match in 2017.
And that was Jeanne. She was the star student in this class. You saw that other people hadn't heard of reverse image search. Alex thought I was being a little bit harsh on them, but it was just a class that we came across. Now we have a limited staff, so we can't visit nearly all of the 11,000 middle schools and high schools that are in France. So we have started streaming as well. We did this as a test this year and had a pretty small audience, but next year we're going to be more organized. If you're working with schools, you need to have a lot of lead time. If you're working with a national curriculum, it's a lot of meetings. You need to give them several months before setting something up. Next year we're going to do another Facebook Live like this and hope to have dozens of schools involved in that. This is just to show you how labor intensive it is. We do it on a green screen. If you work in television, you know that green screens are expensive to rent. It means you need to have a camera operator. You need to have a lot of graphics time behind it. We're thinking of lightening the format so that we can do more of them. We've done, as I said, 34 episodes this year. It's been a bit of a headache for poor Alex, who has to come up with ideas for them. Because it's hard to think of new things to explain 34 times, 34 weeks in a row. So he put his head on. He did what smart people do, which is he asked his friends. And some of you are here today. Hippolyte is here from Africa Check. Denis Tessou and Anne-Sophie from AFP aren't here, but their colleagues are. There's Julia from QuizTime and Deutsche Welle, Gulin from Teyit in Turkey, and here's Radhika, and I know that Jency is here from Boom Live. So thank you very much for your help. We will probably be calling you for the next year of Info or Antox, so thank you very much.
Okay. Hi, I'm Alberto. I'm an author and producer. I'm currently supervising Kilimanjaro, a TV show airing every Sunday afternoon. On Rai 3 is a public channel in Italy. This TV show, it lasts for almost 4 hours. I hope I will talk for less than 4 minutes. And Kilimanjaro is a TV show speaking about travel, showing reportages from all over the world. And, but it also covers cultures, science, environmental issues, and extreme sports. We have guests in the studio who helps us to go in deep in these topics. We do not talk about gossip or crime news as our competitors do at the same time slot on other channels. Therefore, our biggest challenge is to reach a wide audience, a big audience, with a range of cultural topics, and we have succeeded. I've been passionate about political fact-checking, and for many years, and I worked with Alexios Mansarlis, and I've been working with Giovanni Zagni from Pagella Politica. And my challenge was how can I bring language and the tools of fact-checking to a broader audience that follows a popular TV show mainly about travel. I'd like to show you 2 kinds of videos where you will see how we started with this and how we tried to improve and during the season working on the format. In the next first video, our host Camila Rasnovic is speaking with Luca Perri, is an astrophysicist, and they are talking about scientific hoaxes, trying to engage the public in the studio and the audience at home. Let's see.
Guardiamo la seconda frase, la seconda dichiarazione, fonte o di internet giornale. Il centro della nostra galassia sa di rum al lampone. Io questa dico che è vera. Voi? False, secondo me sbagliate, perché più sono assurde le cose più sono vere. Perry?
Questa è vera.
Scusate, sì, l'entusiasmo, molto bene. Sì, questa cosa l'ho capita io in televisione, nei quiz. Più sono assurde, più sono vere.
Assolutamente, questa è dovuta al fatto che al centro della nostra galassia ci sono delle nubi di gas e di molecole, e alcune di queste nubi contengono etile formiato, che è un parente chimico dell'alcol etilico, da qui il rum, e il lampone, perché l'etile formiato è quello che all'interno dei lamponi dà il sapore caratteristico.
Io voglio solo sapere una cosa però, Luca.
Sì.
Chi è che è andato? Cos'è?
No, in realtà
com'è che hanno decretato questo gusto al lampone?
L'ha scoperto tra l'altro un istituto molto importante, il Max Planck Institute di Bonn, facendo delle analisi sulla luce che passava attraverso queste nubi. E
tu devi pensare a questi scienziati che si mettono lì con controlauree, master, dei geni geniaci pazzeschi, che però studiano il sapore del centro della galassia.
Allora, gli astrofisici hanno un grosso problema con l'alcol di solito, quindi questo...
Lo ha detto un astrofisico, Lo ha detto lui!
Okay. In the section we have just seen, we want to surprise the audience with the classical strange but true, or stranger than fiction. Here our focus is to surprise the audience. But now we are also working on a new section where the focus is on combating fake news stories of the week. And here we want to encourage people to question the veracity of the information. In this new section, lasting 10 minutes, we have, with many claims, we have not an expert, but a real fact checker, Davide De Luca from Pagella Politica. We start by citing a newspaper story, and then we analyze the misinformation and corroborate our fact check with graphs and reliable sources. I think this is the best way to make our verdict crystal clear. In the next video, the host Camilla Rasonovic is very good at playing the role of the naive person who has never met a fact checker before.
È una notizia che credo che un po' tutti abbiano sentito in questi giorni. È la notizia che l'italiano avrebbe superato il francese diventando la quarta lingua più insegnata al mondo.
Ah sì, è vero, l'ho vista questa cosa.
Secondo me l'hanno vista un po' tutti, e poi è una di quelle notizie che ci rendono anche un po' orgogliosi, no? Abbiamo superato i nostri cugini francesi d'Oltralpe, insomma, dovremmo essere orgogliosi.
Sembrava un po' strano.
Esatto.
Ma fosse altro anche per il numero, cioè spagnolo, francese, inglese, cinese, ci sono di più.
Tantissimo.
Arabo, sono di più.
Ed è il sospetto infatti è venuto anche a noi, e quindi la prima cosa che si fa in questo caso, se sei un fact checker, è andare a vedere qual è la fonte.
Se sei
un fact checker.
No, non è che pensi che io te la posso far andare così, se sei un fact checker che sembra un insulto.
Un verificatore di fatti.
Ecco, grazie.
Un verificatore
perfetto.
di notizie.
Quindi
meglio.
tu che mi sei verificatore di fatti, sei andato a verificare?
Sono andato a vedere qual era la fonte. Siamo andati tutti noi della squadra a vedere qual era la fonte di questa notizia. E abbiamo scoperto che si tratta di un'organizzazione no profit che però, andando a scrutare un po' bene che cosa aveva detto questa organizzazione, era venuta fuori che aveva smentito la stessa notizia, aveva detto ce l'avete attribuita a noi ma non siamo noi. E quindi noi siamo andati a scavare un po' meglio in questa storia e abbiamo scoperto che in realtà non è la prima volta che questa notizia viene fuori. Pensa, nel 2014 avevamo già superato il francese ed eravamo già diventati la quarta lingua più insegnata al mondo. Forse abbiamo un esempio anche di quest'altra notizia.
Sì.
E siamo andati
Era
ancora...
il 16 giugno del 2014.
Del 2014 e addirittura...
L'italiano è la quarta lingua più studiata nel mondo. Ma forse c'è un po' di... cioè siamo complessati e quindi dobbiamo creare queste cose qua.
Questo secondo me è un sospetto più che legittimo da avere, anche perché ne abbiamo trovato un'altra di addirittura 10 anni fa. Cioè
perché noi possiamo dire che l'italiano sia la lingua più bella del mondo, tanto sulla bellezza.
Sulla bellezza non si discute.
Però quarta lingua.
Quarta lingua, insomma. E infatti, una volta trovata che la fonte non torna proprio, che ci sono diverse cose che ci puzzano, che cos'è la prossima cosa che si può fare? Andare a vedere una fonte un po' più affidabile, che magari non ci dice la stessa notizia, ma una dalla quale insomma possiamo un po' prendere spunto. E quindi siamo andati a vedere Eurostat, cioè l'Istat europeo che raccoglie tutte le statistiche europee, che non ci dice qual è la lingua più insegnata al mondo, ci dice quali sono le lingue più insegnate nei licei europei. Quindi una ragionevole approssimazione, diciamo così. E guarda un po', l'italiano in realtà è la quinta, ma guarda con che numeri. Il 3% delle persone in Europa.
A pari merito con la Russia, sì.
3%, quindi stiamo parlando proprio di numeri bassissimi.
Però stiamo parlando solo dell'Europa.
Stiamo parlando dell'Europa, però insomma...
Mi lasci fuori la Cina, mi lasci fuori...
Però secondo me possiamo immaginare che il posto dove si insegna più italiano sia più l'Europa che insomma l'Asia, dove ci sono molte altre lingue che sono molto più importanti. Non è
la moda, scusa, che vengono tutti a copiare dall'Asia, che arrivano a fotografare, che ne sai?
È verissimo,
magari si appassionano delle scarpe e della lingua.
Ma infatti su questo ci si può ritornare e si può studiare.
News,
questa qui però senza dubbio è una bufala, non è la quarta lingua più studiata.
Okay. In the past years, I supervised the political fact-checking section in current affairs programs, but now I think it's the right moment to do the same in different kinds of shows, trying to encourage people to ask better questions, not only in the political sphere. Thank you very much. Peccato che era in ritardo.
Hello, friends. So, my name is Jency Jacob. I work for Boom. This is a fact-checking, and I'll come back to that. Fact-checking in post-truth India. That's what the theme is. Oops. Okay, so in the heart of India's fake news epidemic, we've just finished one election. Over 900 crore, or 900 million, 90 crore voters were eligible to vote this time, and roughly about 67% of them voted. So that's the ecosystem in which we functioned over the last 6 months. But first, what is Boom all about? Some of you may know about us. We are an initiative to combat fake news and misinformation in India. And I'll just run through this. We're pioneer in fact-checking and busting fake news in India, relaunched in 2016 as a pure fake news busting exercise. And we are also Facebook's first fact-checking partner in India. Organized 5-day training workshops for journalists in association with Google. This we did as part of the Google News initiative just before the elections. And we just, as far as Boom is concerned, we went around 5 cities. We trained about 150 journalists who have then gone forward and trained their desks and several newsrooms around the country. And we do a daily 5-minute Facebook Live, busting fake sources. And we also do a show called Break the Fake. It's a 20-minute daily show, which we do for a national broadcaster. Okay, so our founder says if you have data, your debate will be far superior. So I thought, we'll give some data about what we've been doing. Around 2,000 fact checks since December 2016. And we are counting. Okay, so the big cleanups. Often as fact checkers, we are troubled by the fact that the misinformation, moves faster than what we do. And sometimes we worry about whether are we making an impact. So this is one story we did. Fake news websites active during one of the state polls. They vanished after the election got over. And we were tracking them because we wanted to know, or we wanted to see what happens of these websites. And these were websites which are putting out fake surveys, a lot of misinformation. They just vanished after the elections. Now here's a guy, 26-year-old engineer, who was also arrested in India. Now he used to run this Facebook page called Viral in India, which is still there. In between, Facebook had taken it down. And the website had vanished. We did an interview with him where he said, what are facts? Your facts are not my facts. So that's the kind of trouble that we live in. And he has over 1 million followers on Facebook. Just think about how many of us have those kind of followers on platforms like these. Only News 24/7. This is PV Sindhu is actually a very well-known badminton player, ranked among the top 5 in the world. Now, this was a very interesting strategy that they employed. They first created a Facebook page by her name, and they got a lot of followers. And after that, they slowly converted it into a political page. So this is a very common trend that we see in India. I don't know if you see this in other parts of the world, but this is a very common trend. Whether you take a sports person or a film actor or or the army, Indian army, and you first build a following, 2 to 3 million followers, and then you start farming it out to political propaganda. This is another one that we did. 2.9 million members this pro-Modi Facebook group had, and it was full of misinformation. In fact, after we did this story, they they were lying low for some time, and after that they again began. They have said now they promised saying that we are looking and monitoring what are the posts that people are putting out. Even if there was misinformation, it was not because of us. We just couldn't manage the flow of content that was coming in. Now, this is a very recent story that we have done, how fake news ruined a school in Gujarat. There were about 10 videos that were going viral over the last 6 months or so, and all of them were naming this one school in Gujarat. And we went and monitored what these videos were doing, and we spoke to the principal of the school, and she was extremely disturbed by the fact that she went and filed cases after cases. But what fake news was doing was, turning away all the students from the school, because these videos were showing how teachers were, brutally beating up, their students. None of those videos had anything to do with the school. So this is, the broad spectrum of the work that we have done in India. Okay, we've had this helpline since 2017, And it's a database that we are building over a period of time, trying to figure out what are the kind of queries that are coming since April 2017. And we are working with some premier institutions worldwide to further the potential of this helpline database. We're getting a lot of requests wanting to know, since a lot of academics, they want to know what's the nature of misinformation that is flowing through these helpline, and we're trying to work with them to come on a model around that. But what we have seen is, from the helpline data, we just ran a small check during the elections. If you see the month of April, this is the month just before the elections in May, and in the heat of the campaign, we've noticed that number of fact check requests correlated to the intensity of the events at a specified period. And whether it's a terrorist attack that takes place, or there is a turmoil with the neighboring country, Pakistan, or during general elections, you will see a spike in fact check requests. And in April, we received about 6 times the number of queries than March. And many of them, often turn out to be repeat ones, but there was a huge spike, that we found quite difficult to manage after a point of time. Now, key issues, fake news gets recycled. Old fakes revived over and over. We may have done the story 1 year back, but it will come back, with a new intensity. And one of this, just to mention here, Facebook has this, has this feature which says that what did you post 1 year back? You would have noticed it. We have seen that there is a trend that every time, there is this old story that comes back, it is because someone has noticed that old post of theirs, they haven't seen the debunking of that misinformation, and they start posting it again. So that's how it gets revived again and again. We've given this feedback to Facebook, and we've asked them to look at it, how they can probably better inform their readers. 50% of the queries already busted by us on the helpline that we receive. And the challenge is, do we redo those fact checks every time an old fake reappears? Or, because it's too much of pressure, we are only an 8-member team, and but we just can't ignore them, because this is again and again going viral. So we came with a very small solution for this, which was quite easy for us to do, because it takes about 3 to 4 hours to write a story, get it edited, look for, verify each of the information we are putting out. We wanted to shorten that time. So we came up with this called Boom Fast Check, which is a very, it's a speeding up fact checking with a new format. And we cater only to repeat stories. We use this format only for old stories, not for the new stories that we write. Those are quite detailed. So just to give an example, old story from 2018, we were the first ones to bust this. It's, many of you would have seen this, about some people writing on a street, stopping vehicles, stoning them, and beating up passers-by. And the misinformation that was going around was that this was Muslims during Ramadan. They wanted to actually fast, break their fast on the streets. They were not allowed, and they were rioting in Birmingham. But we do know that this was actually post a football match in Switzerland. Now, this started coming back again, and I'm just picking this example to show, because it's a global audience. So what did we do? We came out with this format, where we don't write that entire story. To write an entire 500, 600-word story, it takes a lot of time. So we put this picture, we have this claim, fact, and then whether it is true or false. And then we hyperlink the old story. So how this has helped us in speeding up the process, we've done about 100 fast checks since April, and we are sure to keep it counting. So we use this for all the old format stories. It takes less than half an hour to write them and to publish them. Okay, what are we up to now? Information literacy, that's what we are planning to do in 2019, now that the major elections are over. So we believe that educate the child, educate the parents. The children, they go back home and they talk about it, and they start quite early not wanting to believe everything that they receive on their social media platforms. And school workshops with Boom curated curriculum. And so these are some of the pictures that we have taken very recently. We just started this 1 month back, and we're getting quite an encouraging response. In fact, we're starting with children from class 8 onwards, since that's the age when they start getting a better idea about what is true or what is false and what are they reading. And it's a pilot project that we launched right now. Since April, 10 schools, 1,500 students reached. Target is 1 million students, schools and colleges. Now, you may be a bit surprised saying that, can we reach 1 million students? Well, it's not impossible, because there are about 400 million children in schools and colleges. They're studying. So 1 million is just scratching the surface, and we have a long way to go. Thank you.
This is for next? Yeah. Okay. Okay, yes. Okay. Yep, thank you. Hello, everyone. I'm Ningtyas. I'm as a fact checker in Tempo, Indonesia. Tempo is a news organization in Indonesia. The fact check program in Indonesia is a very new thing because we just start in 2018, 1 year before the presidential election. Also with Tempo just started in fact check channel in the September last year. So we have learned a lot from your experience, which in early start to fact check early program. Okay. Didn't work? Okay, sorry. Maybe many of you don't know about Indonesia. This map of Indonesia, we are a very colorful country with the 4th largest population in the world. We have more than 1,000 ethnicities and hundreds of religions, and around 80% are Muslim. Yeah, here's the data about the internet penetration in Indonesia until 2017. Internet users in Indonesia have become the 5th largest in the world. They access a lot of YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and WhatsApp. But the increasing internet penetration in Indonesia not followed with the good online literacy like that. The spread of massive hoaxes in Indonesia beginning since the 2014, the presidential election. Jokowi in figure in number 2 received many hoax attacks, about 90% according to a study. Misinformation content plays identity politics such as anti-communist, anti-Chinese, and anti-Christian sentiment. So the hoax attack failed, and Jokowi won the election. But hoaxes have caused strong polarization at the grassroots. And here now, the two rivals later meet again in the 2018 presidential election, and has been held in April ago. The hoax attack was again carried out and resulting in stronger polarization. We can see the number of hoax content from the August in last year until April in this year. We can see the number, how the increase the hoax content, and many are spread on Facebook. So, how the media and journalists Indonesia to fight the hoax during the presidential election? Yeah, the differences between presidential election in the 2014, and this year, media and journalists in Indonesia have a battle to fight hoaxes. It began with a fact-check training program by the Alliance of Independent Journalists with Google initiative. During last year, the program has trained more than 2,000 journalists and students from all regions as fact-checker. This program finally made high impact because made several news organizations has been create a fact-check outlet that integrated into their newsroom. 24 Media also collaborates with the local fact-check organization, and they launched checkfacta.com. Checkfacta.com like a website for the fact-check article database and filled out by partner members. And then this website also open to public if they see hoaxes in social media, so we can report, and the partnership will go to verify. And the last collaboration is carried out to verify every claim in the presidential candidate debate, including checking hoaxes one day before and during election day. In this collaboration, all fact-checkers from around 20 media gather in one room. We use the Google Office in Jakarta, so we share and the task of verifying information on social media. So in the election day, we can produce 40 fact-check articles to public. So I think this is my last slide. Media of Indonesia has played a hard role to fight hoax during the presidential election in 2018, then to 2014. Collaboration between mainstream media, I think also fact-check organization and university is very important to fight hoax. Thank you everybody for the attention.
Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for having me. Bybars, thank you. It's been a pleasure to be here in South Africa. My name is Richard Zack, and I'm so happy to tell you about our project, Our.News. Based in New York, we're a tech startup, and we're fighting misinformation with a slightly different approach. We're combining user participation with transparency. Our ultimate objective is to rebuild trust in legitimate journalism, and our software works to help bridge the gap between fact-checkers and the general public. Fact-checking, obviously, we all know it's incredibly important. It's vital for democracy. We also know that it's hard. It takes time. It is not easy. It requires experts, and that's you. It requires people to really do the work to get it right. And that's not something that everyone else can really do. But that's a big problem because everyone else is not sure what's true online. Depending upon what study you look at, something between 80 to 90% of the public still has trouble sometimes determining what's true online. Part of it is because they're not fact-checking. 9 out of 10 people do not fact-check the content that they're sharing. And the number one complaint, the number one reason, is because people say they don't have enough time. Unfortunately, only 30 to 40%, again, depending upon what study you're looking at, only 30 to 40% of the public, at least in the United States, actually trusts fact-checkers. And that's a big problem because they're frequently falling for misinformation. So what's the solution? For the last 2 years, we've been working on that, and we believe that the approach, again, is to bridge the gap between fact checkers and the general public, and we do that with a nutritional label for news and content. Now, you may have heard there's some other approaches doing this. The difference between ours and theirs is that this label gets attached to individual news articles. And the concept is exactly the same as when you go to your grocery store and you want to know what's in the food you're about to buy. You flip over the package, you look at the label, you get all the objective information about what's in that food. The label doesn't tell you this is good or bad. It doesn't tell you this is right or wrong. It doesn't tell you don't buy the Twinkie. It just says if you're going to, make sure you know what's in it, the sodium content, the fat content, etc. So we attach it to individual news articles and claims. It aggregates fact-checking information from everywhere, and the idea is that it provides full transparency. So like I said, for the last 2 years, we've been filling in those points. What goes on this nutritional label? So we started with verified publisher profiles performed by the Newseum in Washington, D.C. For those of you who don't know, it's the largest news museum in the world, and what they have done is created very brief, intentionally brief profiles of thousands of publishers, and the mission is to do this for all publishers. And again, in the interest of time, we love NewsGuard. They do a great job of doing very detailed publisher analysis, but they're very long. They take a long time to read. These are intentionally brief. We've also recently added media bias ratings from all sides. And when you first open the label, this is the first screen that you see, because the first thing to do for the general public is to get to know your publisher. Next, we have the fact-checking card. And again, this is intended for the public to use. This software is not necessarily built for fact checkers to help you fact check. It's meant for the public to quickly be able to do their own independent fact checking. So we aggregate article sources. What sources of information went into the article? We allow users to contribute sources if they have something that supports, refutes, or adds context. And here you can see under to the top indicator section, this is where we're aggregating fact checks from the experts. And what our system does is it takes every news article, it extracts the claims, and it matches those to fact checks that have been done. And right now we're only working with a few fact checkers, such as you can see in this example, Snopes has rated this particular article as false, and we work with PolitiFact. And now after this conference, we're going to be looking at integrating more through claim review. And lastly, the label is interactive, and this goes back to something that Clara said earlier, which I really liked. When we're talking about trust, and how do you build trust? How do you rebuild trust once it's been lost, for right or for wrong? And we really believe this is a two-way street. You have to ask people what they think, for right or for wrong, and we give them the ability to do that right through the label with a rating system where you can rate various metrics. Do you accept the premise of the article? Is there bias? Is this a clickbait article? Is it an opinion piece, or is it real news? And our platform has been built to block bots, and we have a system that minimizes political bias and any kind of gaming in the rating system. So this technology is available in a lot of different ways. We have a social news website. We have browser extensions for Chrome and Firefox. And I'm so pleased to announce that right before I came up on stage, I clicked the button, and we are now live in the App Store. We just launched our mobile app that makes it easier for anyone to use our tools anywhere you're already reading the news on your iPhone. And we're going to have a little video to show how that works and how the public can fact-check any news article in 1 minute. Now, the platform's also been built. We have a global API. It's been built to integrate with content aggregators, news publishers, social networks. Anywhere that people are looking at news and want to integrate with these tools, we have the platform to do that. And here's some examples. And hitting the wrong button. And now I'd just like to show you a brief demo how the public can fact check any news article in 1 minute. Thank you. And they get one more slide. So we did build and launch this app. Our.News is a platform. The app is called Nutrition, and it was built for our client, the Museum and the Freedom Forum Institute. Our ask today is in a few different places. So first of all, we are looking for partners. We cannot do this alone. We'd like to team up with fact checkers, other technology platforms. What goes in that label? So we have the technology to deliver the label. What needs to be there? And especially as we expand outside of the United States with international partners, we're really looking for partners. Co-founders. We're a startup. We've been doing this for 2 years, but we need people who are passionate about this, bridging the gap, again, between the fact-checking community and the public. And if anyone is interested, please come and talk to me. News organizations, if you'd like to pilot or do a free trial of our software, we'd love to work with you. And everyone else, please download our app. Tell us what's wrong with it. Pick it apart. We want to make it better. This is version 1, and we're really excited about it. It's available right now in the App Store. We're launching on Product Hunt. Thank you so much. I'm Richard Zack, and this is Our.News. Thank you.